They laughed when she showed her military ID. "Nice costume," the cop sneered, reaching for his cuffs. But Sergeant Naomi Michaels wasn't just any soldier. She was a decorated Army veteran with a Purple Heart. And when the footage hit the White House, the president made just 2 calls: free Naomi immediately and destroy those officers' careers. This is the true story of how one viral moment exposed police racism and changed America forever. Watch until the shocking final letter. Don't forget to subscribe to Racism Watchdog and turn on notifications to follow this powerful story and stay updated on the next racism stories like this one. The cold bite of the evening air stung Naomi Michaels' cheeks as she walked briskly down the dimly lit street, her Army-issued boots clicking against the pavement. She had just finished a 14-hour training drill, her muscles aching, her mind already drifting toward the hot shower waiting at home. The stars on her sergeant's stripes glinted faintly under the flickering streetlights. She was 2 blocks from her apartment when the cruiser pulled up beside her. "Ma'am, stop right there." Naomi turned, her posture straightening instinctively. The police car's headlights blinded her momentarily as the passenger side door swung open. Officer Riggs, his name stitched in bold letters across his uniform, stepped out, his hand resting near his belt. His partner, Dawson, remained in the driver's seat, watching with narrowed eyes. "Can I help you, officers?" Naomi kept her voice level, her hands visible. Riggs smirked. "You don't look like you belong around here." His gaze flicked over her fatigues, lingering on her rank insignia. "Where'd you get those stripes? A Halloween store?" A muscle in Naomi's jaw twitched, but she didn't rise to the bait. "I'm Sergeant Naomi Michaels, U.S. Army. This is my neighborhood." She reached slowly for her military ID in her pocket. "Whoa, easy," Dawson barked, jumping out now, his hand hovering near his holster. "Keep your hands where I can see 'em." Naomi froze. "I'm just getting my ID." "Yeah, we'll see about that." Riggs snatched the ID from her fingers, squinting at it before letting out a derisive laugh. "This some kind of joke? You expect us to believe you're a sergeant?" Naomi's pulse pounded, but her voice stayed steady. "Check the database. My service record is public." Dawson leaned in, his breath sour with coffee. "Listen, ma'am, we've got reports of someone matching your description casing houses. So how about you come down to the station, and we sort this out?" A crowd had begun to gather. A teenager held up a phone, recording. A shopkeeper stepped outside, arms crossed. Naomi inhaled sharply. "I'm not going anywhere. I've done nothing wrong." Riggs' smile vanished. "Wrong answer." He reached for his cuffs. "Turn around. Now." Naomi's mind flashed to Afghanistan, to the Taliban checkpoint, where she'd stood her ground. This wasn't a war zone, but the stakes felt just as high. "You're making a mistake," she said softly. Dawson laughed. "No, sweetheart. You are." And then the cruiser's dashcam light blinked red, recording. Naomi didn't resist as Riggs clamped the cuffs around her wrists, the cold metal biting into her skin. She knew better than to escalate. Every soldier understood the importance of de-escalation, even when every instinct screamed to fight back. But as Dawson shoved her into the back of the cruiser, she locked eyes with the teenager still filming. "Keep recording," Naomi mouthed. The kid nodded, thumb steady. 3 hours later, Naomi sat on a hard bench in the precinct's holding area, her uniform wrinkled, her ID confiscated as evidence. The arresting officers had laughed when she asked for a phone call. "Relax, Sergeant," Riggs had sneered before walking away. "You'll get your one call, eventually." But outside those walls, the video was already exploding across the internet. #FireRiggs in Dawson trended within an hour. 10 million views by midnight. The clip that broke the internet. The footage was shaky but damning. Riggs mocking Naomi's rank. Dawson looming over her, hand near his gun. Naomi's calm, measured responses, a soldier's discipline while the officers escalated. Comments flooded in. "She's a damn war hero and they're treating her like a criminal." This is why people don't trust cops. Veterans groups erupted. The American Legion and NAACP issued joint statements demanding accountability. The police chief's weak response. By morning, the department's PR team scrambled. A press release called the incident unfortunate and promised an internal review. Big mistake. The public wasn't buying it, especially when leaked records revealed Dawson had 3 prior complaints for racial profiling, all buried. Ms. Rose's tears. Naomi's elderly neighbor, Ms. Rose, gave an interview outside the precinct where Naomi was still being held. "They did this to my grandson last year," the old woman said, voice trembling. "Pulled him over for swerving just walking home from work. No video. No justice." She clutched Naomi's dog tags retrieved from her apartment by a furious fellow soldier. But this time the world is watching. Inside the holding cell, a young cop, Officer Juarez, finally approached Naomi. "Sergeant Michaels, you're free to go." Naomi didn't move. "Why?" Juarez hesitated. "Because the Pentagon just called, and so did CNN." Naomi stood slowly, her shoulders squared. "No," she corrected. "I'm free because I didn't do anything wrong." As she walked out, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But Naomi kept her eyes forward. This wasn't over. The Pentagon email hit inboxes at 6:03 a.m. Urgent. Review attached footage. Confirm identity. By 6:17 a.m., 3 generals had verified it. The woman in the viral video was Sergeant First Class Naomi Michaels, 10th Mountain Division. Purple Heart recipient. Combat medic who dragged 2 wounded soldiers to safety under fire in Kunar Province. At 6:29 a.m., the chairman of the Joint Chiefs called the Attorney General. At 7:12 a.m., President Robert Hughes, a grizzled Marine Corps veteran, watched the video in the Oval Office. His coffee went cold as Riggs mocked Naomi's service. "Get me the FBI director. Now." The press conference that shook the nation. Noon. White House briefing room. Every network cut to live coverage as President Hughes stepped to the podium, his face granite. "Earlier today, I was made aware of an egregious violation of trust by members of law enforcement against one of our nation's finest. Sergeant Naomi Michaels served with distinction in Afghanistan. Her treatment was unconscionable." The room went deathly quiet when he held up Naomi's torn military ID. "This badge means something, or it should." Then came the hammer. "The Department of Justice will conduct a full civil rights investigation. These officers will answer for their actions, and we will ensure no veteran, no American, faces such humiliation again." CNN's chyron exploded. President declares war on police misconduct. The leak that broke the case. While pundits debated, an anonymous tip flooded into the Washington Post, Dawson's personnel file. Highlights. 2019. Suspended, with pay. After choking a black teen during arrest. Charges dropped. 2021. Lawsuit settled after false arrest of Latino shopkeeper. Last month. Failed psych evil but reinstated after union intervention. The police chief resigned by dinner time. Reporters camped outside her apartment. Veterans stood guard, forming a human barrier. Inside, Naomi sat at her kitchen table, staring at her reflection in her Purple Heart medal. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Sergeant Michaels? This is General Clayton at DOD. The president asked me to call." A beat of silence. "He'd like to meet you. Tomorrow. 1600 hours." Naomi exhaled slowly. The battle wasn't won, but the tide had turned. The morning after the president's speech, Naomi woke to 37 missed calls and a text from an old Army buddy. "Turn on CNN. They're calling you the Rosa Parks of veterans' rights." She nearly choked on her coffee. By 9 a.m., the Department of Justice issued a terse statement. Officers Riggs and Dawson indicted on federal civil rights violations. 18 U.S. Code SS 242. Bail denied. The mugshot spread faster than the original video. Riggs' smirk gone, Dawson's face ashen. But the real bombshell? the police union disowned them. Their conduct does not reflect our values, the union president claimed. The same man caught on tape last year joking about thug soldiers. Naomi's face was everywhere. Los Angeles, 5,000 marched with signs reading "Stop Targeting Black Heroes." Chicago, veterans in full-dress uniforms formed a human wall around a precinct. Naomi's hometown, her high school renamed its ROTC wing in her honor. But the most chilling moment came when Ms. Rose's grandson Jamal spoke at a rally. Last year, those same cops broke my arm. The DA said it was justified. Where's my justice? The crowd's roar shook the cameras. Naomi's mother collapsed watching the news coverage. They'd have killed her if those cameras weren't rolling, she sobbed to relatives. Meanwhile, Naomi deleted her social media. The death threats mixed with marriage proposals in her DMs. Her therapist, a VA counselor who served in Fallujah, warned, PTSD doesn't just come from war zones. Sometimes it wears a badge. Investigators unearthed Dawson's text to his brother. Lol, that bitch got what she deserved. Should taste her. His wife filed for divorce within hours. Riggs fared worse. His estranged daughter went viral with a TikTok. My dad's always been racist. Now America finally sees it. Naomi's choice. The White House invited her to help draft new legislation. The ACLU offered to fund a lawsuit. Hollywood wanted the movie rights. But sitting alone at 3 a.m., Naomi scrolled through hundreds of messages from other black service members. This happened to me at Fort Hood last year. MPs called me a fake Marine. She clenched her dog tags. This was bigger than her. The Capitol Rotunda buzzed with tension as Naomi adjusted her dress blues, the Purple Heart gleaming under the Klieg lights. Congressional staffers scrambled to seat the overflow crowd, veterans, activists, and a grim-faced President Hughes in the front row. A hush fell when Chairman Williams, DTX, gavelled in the hearing. We are here to discuss systemic abuse of service members by law enforcement and the urgent need for the Carter-Michaels Act. Then came the moment America would never forget. She didn't need notes. The words burned in her bones. On March 12th, I became a suspect for 2 crimes: walking while black and serving while female. She held up her mangled military ID. Riggs had bent it nearly in half during the arrest. This badge survived Taliban fire. It didn't survive American police. A Republican congressman interrupted. Surely you understand officers face dangerous. Naomi's voice turned lethal. Sir, I've cleared IED-laced roads in Kandahar. Don't lecture me about danger. The room erupted. Just as tensions peaked, Chairman Williams dropped a bombshell. We call Officer Nikki Juarez to testify. The young Latina cop who'd released Naomi walked forward, her hands trembling but her voice clear. I joined to serve my community. But what I saw that night, it wasn't service. It was a hate crime. Then she revealed the department's secret watch list. Dozens of black veterans flagged as militant risks. The gallery gasped. As the hearing adjourned, President Hughes pulled Naomi aside. Sergeant, the Carter-Michaels Act goes to vote next week, but I need you for one more mission. He handed her a file marked Top Secret, a Pentagon study proving 43% of black service members faced police harassment post-deployment. This ends now. As Naomi exited, cameras caught Dawson's teenage daughter waiting outside in JROTC uniform. I'm enlisting because of you, she whispered, to fix what my father broke. Naomi hugged her as Dawson's sentencing date flashed on nearby screens. 15 years federal prison. 5 years later, the autumn wind carried the scent of fallen leaves as Naomi Michaels walked through Arlington National Cemetery, her fingers brushing the rows of white headstones. She paused at one. Private Marcus Green, 22, killed in action 2 months after she'd saved his unit in Cooner. I kept my promise, brother, she whispered, laying down a challenge coin. They can't ignore us anymore. Her phone buzzed. Another #Carter-Michaels Act anniversary tweet from the president. Another news segment calling her the woman who changed policing. But the notification that mattered most was from her nonprofit's inbox. New message. Dawson, Emily. Riggs worked nights at a 7-Eleven now and his police pension revoked. When veterans recognized him, they'd accidentally spill coffee on his shoes. Dawson fared worse. 8 years into his sentence, his commissary accounts stayed empty. No visits, no letters, except one. Naomi sat on her porch, the letter's prison return address glaring up at her. Inside, a child's drawing fluttered out first. A stick figure soldier with sergeant stripes, standing beside a smaller figure in uniform. Then the words that stole her breath. Dear Sergeant Michaels, you don't know me, but I'm Dawson's daughter, the JROTC cadet you met at the Capitol. Next month, I graduate West Point. I need you to know it's because of you. After Dad got arrested, I found his old notebooks. Pages of complaints about black soldiers he'd harassed off base. I burned them. Then I enlisted to be better. At first I hated you. Now I understand you didn't ruin my family. You saved me from becoming him. When I pin on my lieutenant bars, I'll swear the same oath you did. But I'll add one more promise. No one under my command will ever suffer like you did. Emily Dawson, USMA 26. Naomi's tears splashed the paper. That night she added the letter to her Why We Fight wall alongside. A photo of Jamal, Ms. Rose's grandson, graduating police academy. Officer Jarrah's badge, now the youngest precinct captain in NYPD history. The first draft of the Carter-Michaels Act, signed with Hugh's pen. Her phone lit up. Emily's West Point graduation invite. Naomi smiled, tracing the purple heart beside it. That's how we win. This is why we must never stay silent. If Naomi's courage inspired you, smash like, share to spread awareness, and comment below. What would you do if you were in her boots? Want more powerful real-life dramas? Subscribe now for gripping stories of justice, resilience, and truth. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that shakes the world.